Lewis Hamilton has acknowledged that he was mistaken to write off Red Bull as just an energy drinks company, and express his admiration for the team's dominance of Formula One in 2022. Is this just another tactic to force the FIA to adopt new technical guidelines to level the playing field? Let's see. Lewis Hamilton acknowledged that despite his previous criticism of Red Bull, he is thrilled with how the team dominated Formula One in 2022. In the constructors' standings, Red Bull leads nearest rival Ferrari by over 100 points. It appears likely that they will be the ones to eventually break Mercedes' victory streak with 8 races remaining. In the Drivers' Championship hunt, their key man, Max Verstappen, has been just as dominant. His closest rival from a different club, Charles Leclerc of Ferrari, is 5 points behind the Mexican, with 93 points separating him from teammate Sergio Perez. Red Bull has a 154-point advantage over Hamilton's Mercedes squad in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes has placed third in the last 2 races in Barcelona and Canada, and Hamilton thinks the team can overtake Red Bull before the season is up. However, this can only happen if the reigning champions can turn their focus from their 2023 advantage to their 2024 vehicle. It makes sense that Red Bull's dominance of the season will enable it to focus more on the car for next year than it would during a title campaign, which Aston Martin has said will be the best chance of a non-Red Bull victory later this year. Hamilton has now suggested a deadline for when teams may start developing their next car. Hamilton is a crucial member of the Mercedes team, which has only won 1 Grand Prix since the new aerodynamics regulations were implemented at the beginning of 2022. Hamilton would want to see a rule put in place that forbids teams from beginning work on their next car's design too soon in the racing season. The Mercedes W14 vehicle is traveling in the proper direction. Hamilton stated during the Austrian GP that he believes it is likely that we will eventually catch Red Bull by the end of the year, but that is only because they are likely already working on the car for next year because they are so far ahead. They're so far ahead that they don't need to adjust this year's vehicle. He's got 100 points on the board ahead of us. The FIA ought to, in my opinion, establish a deadline by which all parties may begin working on the cars for the following year. Everyone may begin on August 1st, which means that nobody will have an advantage over everyone else next year. That's terrible. They ought to, and it would make more sense. For instance, if you know at the beginning of the season that your automobile is subpar, you may simply decide to invest all of this money on your next year's vehicle and forego developing this one, giving you an advantage. The last team to defeat an F1 was Mercedes, who won 8 consecutive world titles from 2014 to 2021. Hamilton believes that this kind of regulation change will help keep the sport from going through extended periods of dominance by a single team, as it has in the past. Hamilton said, "We never started as early as them," in response to criticism that Mercedes could not perform as well as Red Bull currently can. "I'm saying that it needs to change because it's the reason you've had supremacy for so long, and they keep putting up with it." Going forward with Sebastian Vettel, they always start ahead because they do it earlier in the day. Hamilton elaborated on his suggestion, saying, "I was truly lucky to have one of those times. Max is experiencing it right now, but the way things are going, it will keep happening repeatedly, and I don't think the sport needs that. If there was a cutoff time for everyone, then nobody would have an advantage, and the future car would be in a true race against time. Perhaps that would help everyone get along better the next year. I could be off, but something needs to happen. We want better racing, so it would be nice to see, in the next 20 years, that there aren't large stretches of time where one team leads by a significant margin." When championship leader Max Verstappen was questioned about Hamilton's remarks later at the FIA news conference by Sky Sports F1, Verstappen didn't appear impressed. Verstappen remarked, "Life is unfair too. It's not just in Formula One. We simply have to cope with the unfairness of a lot of things in life," Verstappen continued. "I believe we weren't discussing that throughout Lewis's championship victories, so I don't think we ought to just now. It's the way with Formula One. It's fantastic to have a competitive automobile, but eventually you also have to think about the following year. It's common for those behind us to say things like this, but they should also remember how it looked when they were winning. After all, staying within the budget cap benefits the team as a whole, which is what every club should prioritize above all else in order to avoid penalties. Furthermore, Toto Wolff has pushed for the completion of Formula One's cost cap audits process as soon as possible in order to prevent a Red Bull-like incident in 2022. There was a conjecture during the October Singapore Grand Prix weekend that one or more teams had over the cost cap. Christian Horner, the CEO of Red Bull, refuted claims that this was their team. Afterwards, it was discovered that Red Bull had over the 2021 cap by $1.8 million. But after a tax dispute with His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, HMRC, the UK organization in charge of the tax system, this amount was reduced to $400,000. The conflict was resolved in late October when Red Bull was penalized for overspending and for deducting excessive wind tunnel and CFD time. Nonetheless, Wolff wants the procedure expedited in 2023 to prevent a recurrence. Wolff told the media that he believed everyone was eager to learn the audit findings and any possible repercussions as soon as possible in the season. With all their upgrades, Mercedes is among the teams that potentially exceed the spending cap, but the last of them is still ahead of us. Since the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in the final round of the 2021 season, Hamilton has not won a race. This season was the first time in his F1 career that Hamilton has not won. To address this, Mercedes plans to make more significant changes before the August summer break and during the British Grand Prix this coming weekend. Although Hamilton thinks that Mercedes' minor advancements will position him to contend for victories as the season goes on, he prefers the Silver Arrows to concentrate on offering a car that might challenge for the championship in 2024. Winning the title the following year is more important to me than winning a race this one. This season, will Lewis Hamilton be seen on the winning lap? Please share your opinions with us in the comment section below. We appreciate you watching the video today, and we hope to see you in the next one. Bye!